So here we have another Blumhouse production, but this one looked a little bit more, I don't know, classy, sophisticated, not quite as run-of-the-mill as a lot of their movies. In fact, this had more of a A24 vibe to it than anything else, I feel like. Because it definitely doesn't look and feel as plain and generic as something like The Hunt, which I still liked, but the visual and stylistic side of things definitely wasn't anything remarkable. This though feels a lot more expensive and way more like it's putting some effort into that department. And I like that, but what really drew me to this movie was mostly Elisabeth Moss, because I've been a fan of hers ever since I first saw her in Mad Men over a decade ago. And she's really great in The Handmaid's Tale too, but when it comes to her movies, she's actually done a ton of them, and most of them I haven't even seen. But I've seen a few, and the projects she picks are usually a little bit unusual. I mean, movies like The One I Love, or more recently Her Smell, are definitely not your average dramas. And I don't know if she specifically picks those kind of projects, or if it's just down to the casting. But I'm a fan of actors who aren't afraid to do some weird movies from time to time. Which I guess brings me to this one, and it's actually not that weird, I guess. But it is, as the title might suggest, about an invisible man, and speaking of the title, I think this one actually would have benefited from a more ambiguous title. Because it's only a fair bit into the movie that it becomes clear that there's an invisible man involved. And before that it could have been a ghost or something, or just all in her head, you know, if it weren't for the obvious title. However, that's more something rather minor that I think the movie could have improved upon, because there's actually a lot to like about this one, and I feel like it caters to a wide audience too. Because first of all, I think the opening sequence is brilliant, it just jumps right into it. It doesn't really tell you what's going on and you sort of have to figure it out on your own. And at the same time it's really intense and suspenseful, just putting you at the edge of your seat immediately. So yeah, I love that opening, and I think that's exactly how you should start a movie. And then what it does is, it doesn't really do many jump scares or focus a lot on action. Instead it focuses mainly on the psychological horror and is a lot more toned down and subtle. And those parts I thought were brilliantly executed, both from the perspective of the direction and the editing, but also the acting. Because Elisabeth Moss dives deep with this performance, and I believed every minute of it. And you really feel what it is to be like in her shoes, and the frustration and the helplessness is palpable. So I absolutely love those parts of the movie, and it's actually a large portion of it too. And it's really more toward the end where it gets a bit more action oriented. And I wouldn't say those parts were bad either, but it's just less appealing and less effective to me personally. I just don't find that kind of thing nearly as creepy or scary as the more psychological stuff. But yeah, I also have to give props to writer-director Lee Whannell, who started the whole Saw and Insidious franchises with James Wan. But he also recently made a movie called Upgrade that was kind of fun, and I believe I reviewed it too. But yeah, credit goes to him for a lot of how good and effective this was. And I really liked how clever and creative it was with how it went about certain things. I mean, an invisible man is hardly a new or unique idea, but the way this one went about things was great. And I'm intentionally trying not to give anything away, but let's just say that if you're invisible, it's so easy to wreak havoc if you so choose in this modern day and age. In fact, the whole idea and how it went about it was so simple and effective that I'm surprised no one's done it before. But with that being said, I didn't love the movie as a whole. It had some issues, especially toward the end. It felt a bit clumsy and like it was struggling to wrap it up neatly. There were also a few weird and awkward transitions, but I still liked it and really enjoyed large portions of it, so it's definitely not bad at all. However, would I recommend it? Sure, if you're into horror and suspense, go for it. But if you're not into that kind of thing, probably skip this one because it did get under my skin a bit. So maybe give it a look or maybe don't. After all, I'm not your dad. But hey, what are your thoughts on this? Have you seen it? Did you like it? Let me know. And if you enjoyed the video, maybe give it a thumbs up or sub to the channel because that would be fantastic. And if you'd like, you can also support me on Patreon or PayPal through links in the description. And as always, I appreciate you and thanks for watching.